Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at Games Workshop's biggest mistake. This video is sponsored by the Game Bunker. More on that later. Middle-earth strategy battle game. Give the enemies of Azog a taste of Boulder with the Gundabad catapult troll. Middle-earth is a magical place inhabited by creatures great and small, primitive hobbits to the colossal form of Smaug the Magnificent. There's a little else that we can challenge the might of the ruler of the Lonely Mountain, but today's reveal might have a decent go at it, the Gundabad catapult troll. Alright, so I gotta start off by saying this thing is absolutely awesome. You can't quite tell like how massive it is, but we can see the goblins on the back of the catapult relative to the size of the troll, and this thing is huge. I love all the detail of everything from like the wooden structure on its back, the actual catapult itself, the ropes, the individual little models, and then of course the troll itself. The armor plating on his arms are absolutely awesome, the cracks in his flesh, the little bits of detail in the cloth tabard, the like stitching on its actual like leather chest plate. I just really like this thing. I think it's absolutely amazing. I have been massively impressed by the Lord of the Rings stuff that's been coming out lately. The only problem is there is just one massive flaw. And no matter how much I want to get past this, there's just no way that I can. And this flaw, this mistake on Games Workshop's part is not just for Lord of the Rings. It's also happening with some of their other main games as well, like Necromunda in specific. But let's take a look at the rest of the article and then we'll discuss. When Azog needs to level the reinforcement walls of the stronghold, he will summon the largest trolls from his armies and pair them with a crew of goblins who strap a massive war catapult to its back. These plotting creatures can be repositioned for the ideal angle of attack, and the crew even let loose boulders while on the move. Alright, so here we have the actual profile of the troll itself, and again, the troll is absolutely awesome. The basing on this looks great, but then when we zoom in on the actual catapult and the details, everything from like the cloth that the actual boulders go into to the boulders themselves, just absolutely amazing. I love this model, I love the style, I love the look, and when I see something like this, I get super excited for Lord of the Rings, and it makes me want to get this model, it makes me want to play this game, but then the same thing happens every time when one of these new releases is shown off. Stopping their advance means getting within range of the armored metal gauntlets, which hit at strength 10 just like the boulders it flings. This miniature is made of forgeworld resin. It'll be rocking with its crew soon enough. At the same time, this Middle-earth strategy battle game match play guide hits the shelves. And there we have it, the massive flaw that just every time makes me cringe. This miniature is made of forgeworld resin. I personally love that Games Workshop has come so far and their plastic kits have become so amazing. I honestly think that they put out some of, if not the best miniatures in the entire wargaming community. But for such a massive company with so much potential, the fact that they're still making a lot of the stuff in forgeworld resin is just a total letdown. The forgeworld resin of old or like the fine cast resin was terrible. The new resin is much better, the detail looks great, the actual resin is much higher quality, but I just have no real desire to get into forgeworld resin or to mess with resin. The amount of extra prep time that goes into it, the extra fragility that's associated with it, and then of course the premium price that Games Workshop attaches to it just completely eliminates the largest moat that Games Workshop has on the hobby. They're amazing plastic kits. And the truth is, there's a lot of other small companies out there. There's 3D printing. There's all sorts of other options when it comes to resin itself that just don't exist when it comes to plastic. So when I'm weighing my options and I'm looking at whether or not I want to pick up a miniature, as soon as I see that it's in forgeworld resin, the moat just completely comes up, and then suddenly I can compare it to all the other cool companies out there like Creature Caster or all the other awesome 3D prints available, and suddenly the premium attached to their products just isn't worth the money. If this model was in plastic, I would 100% pick it up. If a lot of the new Lord of the Rings stuff was in plastic, especially the new range of models, I would totally be picking them up. But the fact that so many of the cool characters, so many of the individual and awesome sculpts that they put out are in resin, and it's not just Lord of the Rings, it's also Necromunda with a ton of their characters, a lot of the old world stuff, the newer models that they've been releasing in resin. I see them, I get excited for them, and then I read that they're resin, and I just keep on scrolling. Now a quick word from today's sponsor, Game Bunker. Game Bunker carries a full range of Games Workshop products including miniatures, terrain, paint, tools, and more. Game Bunker offers 15% off MSRP for most Games Workshop products with the discount code WHMS. Receive free shipping in the continental United States on orders over $145. Online orders ship out within 24 hours. Game Bunker is a veteran-owned business. Use affiliate link below, enter discount code WHMS to save 15% on most items at checkout. For fast, friendly service with a discount on your favorite tabletop wargaming purchases, visit GameBunker.net and let them know that Warhammer Man sent you. And I think this is a massive mistake on Games Workshop's part, and I completely understand why they do this. They think that the sales won't be big enough for them to justify making a plastic mold. It's very expensive, there's a lot of upfront costs, and rather than take a chance and make some of these models in plastic or just make less of them but make them in plastic, they choose to make them in resin because the cost for them is so much lower. Therefore, for them to recoup the amount of money that they invest into it is substantially lower. But unfortunately, it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy or a double-edged sword. They make a model, they're not sure if it's going to be profitable, so they make it in resin. Then they sell less of them because it's in resin, and then they feel justified in their decision that they made it in resin, so they continue to do it. As where if they actually took the chance, if they made them in plastic, they would sell substantially more of them for conversions, for collectors, for painters, for people like myself, and then they would at least have a chance for these things to sell well, for them to be popular, or for them to pay for their plastic molds. But unfortunately, they don't even take that chance. And for a multi-billion-dollar company, the biggest and the by far best in miniature design, sculpts, and model quality, it's just sad to see that after all these years, they're just going backwards. I'm sure there are dozens or even hundreds of other companies out there that wish they had the capabilities, the technology, or the money to make their models out of plastic at this quality, and they'd be 100% willing to take that chance. But Games Workshop has all the capabilities, all the opportunity, all the backing financially, but chooses to still make this stuff out of resin. And for me, that is a massive mistake. As a matter of fact, it's the biggest mistake that Games Workshop makes consistently. I think Necromunda would be a much more popular game. I think the fantasy old world stuff would be much more popular. And then I know for a fact that the Middle-earth strategy battle game would do much better if they produced all these models in plastic, or at least tried making some of the new stuff in plastic. But of course, that's just my opinion. I know some people out there don't mind resin or actually prefer it, but I think they're definitely in the minority. And I think that realistically, whether they don't mind resin, whether they prefer it, removing the moat between plastic and resin just completely opens up the game, opens up the hobby itself to a ton of other brands, other game companies, and then 3D printing. And I think once you remove that moat, it's very hard to justify the price that's associated with these for what I would argue is lower quality. This 64-page rule supplement contains 24 balanced scenarios for match play, including 6 that are completely new, as well as rules and advice for running doubles, campaigns, and team events. It's a one-stop resource for anyone who needs ideas for guidance or how to run an engaging Middle-earth strategy battle game event. Both the Gundabad Catapult Troll and the Match Play Guide will be available for pre-order in coming months, alongside the recently revealed Prince of Marhill and the Armies of the Middle-earth Rules Supplement. So let me know what you think of this new troll. Let me know what you think of the resin versus plastic debate. I think I've laid out my case pretty strongly. I don't expect everyone to agree with it, but I know that there is a large amount of people that do. If this model was in plastic, would you be more likely to pick it up, or would you definitely pick it up? Are you still going to be picking up even though it's in resin? Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. And as always, special thanks to the Game Bunker for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on most Games Workshop products with code WHMS at checkout. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. And we can just put this troll catapult on the list of stuff that I would buy if it was plastic, but I'm not because it's resin. And I'm out of here.